How do you make 15K per month in commission as a remote high ticket closer in 2026? I'm going to break apart the 3 exact things that you can do that I did, that all top producers do. And this is going to be an advanced training. This isn't just going to be some mindset BS. So pause, record it, do what you need to do so you can implement it. Because if you do this, there's no reason why you don't make more money. Okay, my name is Andrés. I've been a remote closer for 6 years. I've seen this industry change dramatically, and I've been able to make 20 to 25K per month in commission on multiple different offers as a top producer and do it consistently so I can actually live the lifestyle that everyone sells, right? Traveling, freedom, taking care of your family. Your first year, be prepared to grind, be prepared to sacrifice and work your butt off. But if you can do that and you can implement these things, 15K per month should actually be the standard and your standard minimum. And I'll show you exactly why. So if you like this stuff, follow for more. This will be a 3-part series, okay? Now, before I go into these 3 sections, it's January, 7th? And I was reflecting on, right now I have 12 one-on-one students, and I'm training a few teams. 9 out of my 12 one-on-one students have cracked 10 or 15K in commissions. Many of them are new to the industry within their 2nd or 3rd month. Some of them, a 20-year-old specifically, she came to me considering quitting because she came in with the whole, get guaranteed a job, wasn't making any money. This is her 2nd 10K month. She actually just dropped out of college so she can pursue sales full time. And 2 out of those 9 have hit 20K months. And one of them, she's been with me a lot longer. She's cracked her 2nd 30K month in commission. Process that I've taken them through, obviously with more hand-holding. I'm gonna walk you through it right now, okay? 3 key sections. 1 is your discovery. How do you find problems quickly without feeling like you're forcing the questions? How do you have conversational flexibility? We're gonna go into that one today. The next is objections. You will be surprised for as much objection handling like videos there are online, most reps actually don't even bother. They don't have confidence. I know a lot of the women reps, like they don't have a lot of confidence around it. They kind of clam up. Or a lot of the men just try and steamroll people and then they get hung up on. So a framework around objections. See if you guys can read my handwriting. And the final thing is ownership. And I'm not just talking about mindset. I'm talking about strategy. You are primarily a commission-only closer, okay? Relying on ads, right, or relying on the inbound funnels of your companies can be risky. So what else are you doing to ensure you have the call volume required to hit the income goals that you want? And if you don't know how many calls you should be taking per week and what you should be closing to hit your income goals, that's where you should start. Reverse engineer that. That way you know if your current offer is enough to hit your income goals or if you need to supplement it with either doing outbound or finding another offer to sell on. That way you're not just sitting around hoping and wishing. So for this training, we're gonna go into the discovery. Now, when I train teams, I notice a lot of sales reps are trained to find the overarching goal and then paint the picture of like, what do they want to accomplish? What is the goal that they want to achieve? So let's take a standard product or service in our industry, BizOp, right? Helping people make more money. So what I see when I train teams, it's like, I want to, what's your overarching goal? Well, I want to be able to make 10K a month, right? Right? Maybe you got sold into one of these programs to get into high ticket. I want to make 10K a month. Okay, well, like, why is that the goal? Okay, and like, what would that do for you? And like being able to make that much money, like what would that allow you to do? It's very goal oriented in the beginning. I do the exact opposite. My belief is that if someone hasn't achieved a goal, like they've never made 10K a month, they don't know what it's like. While it is motivating, it's nowhere near as motivating as their current situation and the lack that they're currently experiencing, okay? Now, this training will be more for ROI BizOp offers. I've sold a ton of men's work and non-ROI offers and I handle those a little bit differently. Bear with me for this, okay? So back to my drawing board here. How do we find problems quickly? And I do that by, once I find what their overarching goal is, I go straight to what is their current situation. I want to find data. And the most important data for most of these B2C BizOp offers is how much money they are currently making. So the things I like to do is, like, let's say this is a BizOp to help people monetize their social media following. Okay, tell me a little bit about the following that you currently have. You have about 50,000 followers? Okay, cool. And what kind of products do you sell, or do you kind of rely on brand deals, or what's kind of like, the way that you actually make money from that? Okay, how long have you been doing things like that for? What I'm looking for is like what they're doing, how long they've been doing it. But what I'm really looking for is I'm just asking these questions. So when I ask an income question, it makes sense. It's not just coming out the gate, hey, welcome to call, how much money you making? Because people aren't going to tell you that. So when you stack these questions effectively, people are going to open up because they see you as an expert asking the right questions in the right order. So then I can ask something like, okay, so if you've been structuring 2 brand deals using your 50,000 person follower list, do I sound old? What does that equate to in terms of monthly take home for you? All right, you're making about 8K. So is that take home? Or is that like what the business is making? Okay, and after you pay your editors and all the things, how much do you actually take home, just so I can see what your margins are like? Okay, so you're actually making 5K a month. Wow. And I don't know, with the amount of followers that you have and you've been doing this for 2 years, is that a level that you're ultimately happy with? Well, no. Well, how come? Now, this is really important because this is how we find problems quickly. We've now identified the data point that they want to change, and now we're finding the level of unhappiness that comes from that data point. And it's going to be a little bit different from every offer, but this is how we find a level of, I guess, dissatisfaction. Because unhappiness is what people really want to pay to get out of, because it's pain. And a lot of rookie reps skip through this. It gets uncomfortable, so they don't even ask these questions. But this is where advanced reps really amplify, because this is where the change happens. So to kind of like reiterate, we go data. Data opens up the level of unhappiness. And then the unhappiness helps us find the impact. So like this person, for example, if they tell me, no, I'm not, of course I'm not happy only taking home $5,000 a month, well, how come? And this is where the real stuff comes out. I'm married, my wife's a content creator as well, but if we don't figure this out soon, we're probably going to want to find another more stable income, because we left our corporate jobs where we're making $120,000 a year. Bingo, this is what's really driving them and motivating them. So then I want to unravel that. Well, tell me a little bit more about that. What made you actually want to leave corporate? And what's actually like, is it the lack of stability that's making you considering going back? Okay, and like, so help me understand right now, what have you actually done to get some expert help so you don't have to go back to corporate? And all of a sudden, I'm unraveling behaviors and previous buying patterns so I can address it early. So this is very important. On every offer, there's data to collect. Even if someone's not a business owner, right? Maybe they want to get into day trading, right? Find the data of how they've been performing. Maybe someone is going from a 9-to-5 job, right, to start their first online Etsy business. Well, what are you making from your current job that's making you want to get into start an online business, right? You're finding the data point. Oh, you're making about 85K a month? Or 85K a year? That's not like bad. Like some people would be happy with that. Like, are you not? No, well, how come? Right? Immediately, we're finding the deeper motivations. So that's how I use data initially. And then when I've expanded enough upon it, there's a few ways that you can do it. And then I go into goals, and now I'm painting a bigger gap. But the reason I make this change is because people don't mind talking about their problems, and we can get into it a lot quicker. There's now more emotion. They're more tied into the outcome now. And there's shots that I can take to amplify things that I see are potential objections. Like if I ask someone that, like, I mean, look, man, like if you're making $5K a month, like why are you still at the job if you've been there for 3 years? Well, I've been trying and I've been researching a lot of things, and I've thought about this, and okay, but like, what have you actually tried, bro? Like, what have you actually said? Hey, let me actually follow through on drop shipping for 3 months. Like, what does that look like? And you get a big, I haven't really tried anything. I'm still in research mode. If you don't tackle that, then guess what objection you're going to get at minute 50? Well, I got to think about it and do more research. Can you send me more testimonials? So this is why I do it, so I can then take my shots on either their language or the identity that they currently have. Language is the gateway to how someone thinks. So that's the second point we'll write down here. It's language. What language are they using? Is it weak language, like try? Is it uncertain, like maybe, hopefully? Or is it very aware? Results and ownership. Quick example. When I talk to business owners, right, that make $200K a year, they're not talking about, well, you know, this is something we want to maybe try and hopefully it'll work. They're like, yeah, Andrés, like this is what our current conversion rates are over this current strategy. What do you think we can do about that? Right? Cool. They know their results. They're taking ownership that it isn't up to where they want it to be. So they're looking for solutions. So I'm handling that a little bit different than someone who's like, yeah, I mean, hopefully this will be it for me so I can actually finally like leave my 9 to 5. Hopefully, that's not really a strategy. Like, what have you actually tried though? Like, what have you done? Or someone who's like, you know, I've been trying this, trying that, and you know, it's just like, I'm always so busy, and like my kids, you know, it's like kind of hard to have like, you know, to try and start a business when you have a family. Like, what's that telling you? That's like not someone who's taking full ownership. That's someone who's externalizing. And you want to tackle these things then and there, again, because if you don't, they will manifest as objections at the end of the call. So let's keep going. From here, I like to find their challenge before I go into goal. I don't know if you guys can hear the dogs out there. What they've done to solve it, what's prevented them, what's been the biggest challenge in figuring things out, what are the things that have been missing from XYZ. If they have tried something, what were the results of those things? Because that's really important, because previous buying behavior dictates future behavior. At least it gives us the end so we know what we want to challenge. Okay? Now, from here, this is where we really want to unravel this person in terms of what they need to change to get the outcomes that they want. If you're consistently hearing someone use weak language, bring that to the surface. Now, you don't need to be a dick about it. You know, you can be respectful and say, hey, you know, can I reflect something back to you? I've heard multiple times, like, you've been trying different things, but it seems like there's a lot of things that are also stopping you. Time, family, like things that, you know, anyone is going to have constraints around if they're wanting to build an extraordinary life. So looking at the things that are directly within your control and putting those things aside, why do you think you've continued to tolerate this situation? Or what have you actually done and followed through on for an extended period of time to be able to supplement your income? This is how you can cut through the excuses and really start challenging this person in a way that's not going to have them hang up on you. Okay? Now, from here, once I've unraveled that, you're going to find it's either a challenge around not knowing what to do, then you need a challenge, well, what have they done to solve that lack of clarity? Or they've tried things that hasn't given them results, and you need to understand why. Did they not implement it properly? Were they looking for the easy way out? Or were they just genuinely misled by an organization? Which again, if we handle it there, we'll no longer get the I need to think about it because this gives me bad vibes of another company, and you've already price dropped me 10 grand, so whatever you say now doesn't matter. In the first 30 minutes of our call, when we're in the discovery phase, we can get away probing more effectively because people haven't been price dropped yet. So there is minimal sales resistance unless you're being super pushy and annoying. Meaning we can really probe into these things of what they're saying and get a real response. And humans don't like to be incongruent. So what that means is if you ask a question for someone early on, right? And let's say, like, what's the reason you're considering working with me versus just trying to figure this out on your own, right? Like it's a rationale question. And someone says, I've been doing this on my own for the last year. I'm not getting anywhere. I think it's time for some help. If they've said that to themselves, instead of you telling them, they're going to believe it. And at the end of the call, it's going to be very difficult for them to tell you, you know what, $5,000, I don't know, it's a lot. Let me try it on my own one more month. I'll get back to you. Because they've already told themselves why that's not working. Okay? So, next thing is pre-handling objections in your discovery. Now, there's objections that you should and shouldn't be getting at the end of the call. Okay? Some of your calls are going to be objectionless. Okay? Many of them will if you do your discovery right. Some of the objections you should be pre-handling are the DIY. Can you do it yourself? Right? Timing objection, something you can get ahead of. Right? Competitor objection. We'll start with these three. This is how I would do it. Once I found the data, the unhappiness, or the dissatisfaction, and the challenge, whether a mental or identity challenge or something strategic, I'm moving on, and now I want to understand why they're considering us versus the other options, or why they're considering us now, again, so they can tell themselves and believe it instead of me trying to tell them. Okay? Because people believe 10% of what you say, 90% of what they say. So when you find yourself talking in statements at someone, how can you ask it in a question? Right? Like, think about it. I don't know, like when I was going to school, when like I was in lectures, I would check the fuck out and I really struggled. But when I was in debate, I did really well because like I would say something and I would be actively engaged, right? And I'd be listening to what I'm saying to make sure it made sense. So here's how you can handle these three objections. The DIY, right? Meaning I want to try this on my own first before I give you $5,000. Okay. If you're getting that at the end of the call, it's because you're missing it in the beginning. Very simple way. It's like, cool, man, what has you even considering some mentorship now versus like spending another couple months trying to figure this out on your own? Let them explain. Now you might get, well, I guess I could try it out on my own. Cool. Well, how's that been going? Give yourself the space to challenge. The timing objection, right? The way we pre-handle that is when we found the challenge. It's like, man, okay, so it sounds like you've been capped at this revenue level for the last 6 months. How much money do you feel like you're actually leaving on the table by not having expert support or not having expert guidance or not figuring out your Facebook ads? So that's potentially $8,000 a month in unrealized revenue. I mean, you multiply that over the year. What's that, like $96,000? It's like $100K that you're leaving on the table. You okay with that? Obviously not, right? So then what has you considering getting some help now versus waiting a couple months to see if your ads guy figures it out? Bingo, pre-handled. The final one is like a competitor. This one, if you consistently get these, so when I was on one account, I got the competitor objection a lot. After about my third call, someone was like, which was oddly identical. It was like, yep, this all sounds good. We want to talk to a financial advisor first before we consider hiring you as a financial coach. So I was selling a financial coaching program. And at the end of the call, for me, that was a very difficult one to handle, right? So I started to pre-handle it. So in my discovery, I would go into, okay, man. And so, before you found us, like what have you been doing to like solve this cash flow problem that you have? Right? It sounds like there's a lot of cash just leaking out of the accounts here. Oh, well, I've tried QuickBooks. Okay, but like, have you looked for help with this before like you kind of like booked this call with us? Well, I've been considering talking to my family financial advisor first. Okay, well, like, have you talked to them yet? No, I was thinking about talking to them after. Well, I guess, like, what has you been considering working with, like, an organization like us? Because we're quite different than advisors versus just going to them. Don't be scared to ask those questions, because what I would get was very simply, well, you guys know how to work with blue collar, like people who are self-employed and in cash heavy businesses. My family financial advisor, I mean, like, kind of just manages like W-2 employees. Got it. And so getting support from us, like, why do you feel like that would actually be more important and more beneficial for you? Guess what? They are telling themselves. Okay? That's how I lead a discovery. Now, there's a few other sections, right? There's a lot more pre-handling we can do. From here, we typically want to then go into what is the real goal they want to achieve, right? Their bigger vision, their bigger motivators, their deeper whys. Now, that might come up on calls, might not. Like when I sell, like, sales consulting to established business owners, I'm not asking what their deeper why is, but we're looking at the cash that's being left on the table and presenting a more logical solution. But when I talk to people that want to make their first 10 or 20K month, because that's really the hardest, I need to understand their deeper why and motivation so they're willing to overcome their fears when the time comes. And then we'll go into consequence questions, right? Consequencing their actions, consequencing their beliefs. Now, this is like the level 1 order. When you've memorized this and you know what to look for, you can actually like rearrange these and be more conversationally flexible. Now, don't let all the sales marketing kind of like make you feel overwhelmed, because the reality is, with a simple framework like what I just covered, scripting it out, you can get to 10K, which if you're new in sales, your first 10K month can feel life-changing until you do it for a few months and you're like, all right, like, how do I get to 20? How do I get to 30? How do I get to 50? But there's levels. Scripting and a simple framework will get you to 10, and then more for advanced stuff and time management, things like that will get you above that. Now, we still have to cover objections, because even with a good discovery, you still are going to get objections. And I still want to go into ownership and how to really think about how to like make the most money of the offers that you have available, and how to consistently find better and better opportunities. But for this first training, this is more than enough. If you script this out, if you write it out, you start implementing it and practicing it, there's really no reason why you shouldn't start closing more deals. Because you're finding data, you're finding motivators, you're finding the real emotion behind it, you're finding actual challenges, you're identifying previous behaviors, and you're starting to pre-handle objections. My student Tati, who just signed up with me about a month and a half ago, she started with me in November. December, she had a 15K month. November, she had a 4K month. And we simply added, 3 of these sections in the beginning. There's still a whole bunch that we're going to add to her process, but it's piece by piece. Okay? Hope that helps. If you want more advanced training, just DM me Cafe. I have tons of this stuff and I'll send it over. Peace.